Good morning and welcome back to the woods, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing this, and this is the BCB Combat Survival tin. Now, I'm not a big fan of survival tins, basically because I don't think they're that well thought out, and they're more made basically just to keep the costs down. Now, I think this was about £20, and this will probably reflect in what's inside it. Haven't even opened it, and I've had it a few weeks. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is light the fire with it. I don't actually know what's in here. I'm assuming it's matches and a ferro rod. So fire lighting. I'm going to go off now and I'm going to gather some twigs. Obviously I can't cut anything big because I haven't got anything in here that'll cut anything big. There's a wire saw in here because it says on the front. But from past experiences, I wouldn't particularly want to cut a log down with one. So it's all going to be stuff that's hanging off the trees or on the floor. And dry, obviously dry. So I'm going to go off and get them now. Then I'm going to open this up, get the fire lighting kit out. There's my fuel. There's my kindling. Make a quick base. I just took the tape off now, expecting at least 3 foot, and that's all I had was enough to just cover it around the tin, so you could always do with more tape. Well, it's all in that packet, and a small knife, some aqua tabs, and some matches. Well, when you think how much you could actually fit in there if you didn't have that packaging, so as far as I'm concerned, that's a downfall straight away. We've got a candle. That's good. That's very good. Well, first off, I will attempt to light this fire with these matches, and if I fail, I'll light the candle. Well, there's a book of matches. And they've got tiny heads, but at least they're wooden matches, not paper matches. That's a good start. What I'll do, I'll take 2. I'm always a fan if the small matches are using 2. Again, the fire lit is more important than conserving at this point. If I was doing this in an emergency, I would definitely use 2, and I'd probably have the candle out as well. That's 2. Well, that's a reasonable fire lighter. we'll call that a pass. I don't think I'd have lit it using the one match, they're too small, and it was touch and go with the two. The twigs, well, there's a lot of bark on them, and when the bark's on them, they obviously take a bit more effort to light. I could have probably put a glove on and stripped a lot of the bark off by hand. That would have helped, but it's lit, and that's the main thing. I do think that if you were a novice going to light a fire with that kit, you would definitely need the candle or some other form, perhaps a bit of tinder card in there to help you on your way. But that's lit, and I'm happy about that. Now I can put some big stuff on, which I don't need to process down. Just lay it on the side, dry it up, burn it, cut it through, and we're good to go. But that's the important bit, is to get that nice sustained flame. And that's burning now with no smoke, nice and hot. Hot enough for a cup of tea. Now then, it's time to have a good look inside this kit. There's the matches we lit the fire with. We've got some water purification tablets and a mini knife. Let's check this out then. Straight away, as far as I'm concerned, bad move. It's a serrated blade. It's only good for cutting string. You can't make a little feather stick with that. You've only got that tiny little piece there of sharp, and it's not particularly sharp. It's got a lock, which is always a good thing, but that to me is just a waste of time. Why on earth haven't they got a plain blade on that? I don't know. So that, as far as I'm concerned, is no good at all. I'll give it a go in a bit. I'll try and do something with that tip, but that aggressive cutting edge there, it's not for me. Cable ties, always useful. There's only two. I'd have put quite a few more, and I'd have put some bigger ones in. Pencil, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. Wire. So you've got some brass wire, I'm assuming for snares. Perhaps make some fishing lures or something. That's not a bad amount. I've seen kits with far less, but I would probably double that up, and you've got nothing to cut it. If you want to make a snare, you may get 2 out of it, but if you know anything about snaring and trapping animals, you know you need more than 1 or 2. You need about 10. If you're going to be productive, you need to put a lot of traps out. That's not going to make a lot of snares. Accident evaluation report, survival instructions, well, I think you should be pretty well versed in survival techniques if that's all you're going to carry is this. So as far as I'm concerned, the only good thing for that is to burn. I am Mr. Negative, aren't I? Nylon cord, nowhere near enough. Night light. It's got a little tab there to pull out so it works. I'm assuming it will. Let's pull it out. Does it have a lock? Doesn't have a lock on it, so you basically got to hold it. See if it works in your teeth. Well, you've got that stupid thing hanging off it, so that's a bit awkward if you want to hold it in your mouth. Nylon tube. Gather in the water, blow into the fire. Quite a few uses. Doesn't feel like it has enough give to make a slingshot out of it. And it's a bit flimsy. Wire saw. But from past experiences, can't get a lot to one of these. And I know years ago they used to come with key rings on them, and people used to say you could make a deer snare out of them. Well, they're not really big enough. So that basically is just a saw. And the best way to use these is to make a bucksaw frame. But you need cordage for that, and that's not enough, and it's probably not strong enough either. Safety pins, pretty self-explanatory. When you close rip or something, keep them together. Got no problem with them. I would have probably put a few bigger ones in as well. Sewing kit. Every survival kit has a sewing kit. And unfortunately, this has one needle. I'd have put 10 in, and I'd have put one that big in, and probably would have put in thicker cord as well. So yeah, it'll sew a button back on, but if you lose that one needle, well, it's gone. And let's face it, needles are small to lose. Fishing kit. Now, I'm no fisherman, I'll be honest, but I have caught a few fish in my time, and believe me, I needed a lot more line than that. Hooks and swivels. I think there's only about 4 hooks in there. When you think about how small a hook is, you could probably put 20 in there and it wouldn't take up much more room. Sinkers. 4 rather large sinkers. Yeah, so I suppose the fishing kit could do with a lot more fishing line and a lot more needles. Maybe throw in a couple of little lures as well. Whistle. That works. Doesn't have another use, it's just a whistle. And if you can whistle with your hands, which I can, I don't need that. We've got a ferro rod with a striker and a compass on it. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a good compass with me to see how accurate it is. But it's better than nothing. And because it's in the handle, got less chance of losing it than just having a small button compass. So that's not too bad. We'll use that in a minute. Coming to the end. We've got 2 craft blades, which are nice and sharp. I'd prefer the knife to have had a regular blade instead of a serrated blade, and I probably wouldn't have bothered with them. I'd have put Stanley blades in, you know, big craft blades instead, a pack of 5, because when they go blunt, you can use them as a striker light, which I've demonstrated in the past. So with a rock, these, no, they're too small. And with a Stanley blade, you can make a handle for it, a split piece of wood, whereas that's going to be very difficult. So they're not much good either. And a good old candle. As I said earlier when I was lighting the fire, if the weather had been bad, and it did actually rain about half an hour after I lit the fire, I'd have been in a bit of bother. So that and the matches, good fire lighting set. I'd have probably gone with half wooden kitchen matches and half lifeboat types for the wind, personally. Now this is my big bugbear. Purification tablets and no water bag. That makes no sense to me. Years ago they used to put condoms in these, and if anybody's tried filling up a condom full of water in a river, and I bet a few of you have, and I have, it's a pain in the backside. And these days you can get jiffy bags, you can get the ones which stand up on their own. Why didn't they put one or two of them in there? Don't know. So from looking at this kit, I think, I won't go so far as to saying it's a load of crap, but it wouldn't be the kit that somebody like myself, who spends a lot of time in the woods, this is not the kit I would put together. Let's try this ferro rod out. Let's put everything back in the tin. Let's see if we can get a flame with this ferro rod. It's fresh, I haven't scraped it or anything. It comes with one of these antiquated type strikers, which is basically a cut down hacksaw blade. And from experience, I know these are terrible. Using the hacksaw blade. So well, you'd think now, perhaps the back edge. Nothing. Front edge. Oh yeah. Right, we get a spark off that, that's good. Well, the first thing I'm going to try and light is some birch bark. We all know birch bark goes up pretty easy with a ferro rod. It's good stuff, but you don't find it everywhere. You get maximum rough edges, raw edges I should say. Now the only bit I can use is that bit. We are lit. Well, that was pretty good. I can't complain about that. But I do prefer using that edge. So maybe running that over a grinder would definitely help. The saw edge, it's just hopeless. Rubbish. So you haven't got birch bark, but you got a knife. Let's see if I can make some fine shavings on this little piece of stick. Obviously this piece of stick has been split down in the past with an axe or a knife, but you can smash wood up against a rock and get pieces like this out without any tools. It's a lot of effort, but you can do it. We'll try and use the serrated edge first. Hopeless. What's the spine like for scrapings? Well, that's not too bad. I've made a few scrapings, but imagine how your hands are cold and wet and you have a slip with that serrated edge facing towards your finger. No plasters in there. No antiseptic cream. Years ago, survival kits always had a few plasters in there. Even if you'd think to yourself, oh, I carry a survival kit and a med kit, which is sensible, you still always have a couple of plasters in there. See if I can light this. Now I'm struggling, and I'm a guy who uses a ferro rod all the time. I light feather sticks all the time with it, so I'm experienced, and I couldn't get that alight. See if we can use the tip for some shavings. That knife is awful. Lighting that was more down to my skill than that tool. Trust me. That is a complete waste of time. Rubbish. Let's try this saw out. I'm not holding up much hope for it. Yeah, I've seen a few videos of people, and I'm not sure if I've made one in the past, I can't even remember, making a little buck saw out of one of these. Well, if there was enough cordage in there and strong enough, paracord, I could do it. But seeing as it's not in there, I can't do it. And I wouldn't like to try and fashion the sticks and everything to make it with that crappy knife. So this needs to be used on its own. Well, that wasn't too bad, but this is a really soft piece of wood. I'll find a green stick. Well, it's not green, but it's a bit seasoned and it's quite hard. I think that was from another project. It'll do. I really wouldn't want to cut anything bigger than an inch with it, so you could basically use this to make your buck saw, but the lack of cordage just means you can't do it anyway. That's not as bad as I expected, so it does work, but you wouldn't want to try it on something like that. Take you about a week, so it has limitations. In conclusion, there's a few other things I need to mention, and that number one is the tin. Now if you're a woodsman and somebody who's into bushcrafting, you know you can make charred material in the tin, which will light really easily with the ferro rod. I personally wouldn't put that tin in the fire. I do it the other way, which is basically get burning material in the tin, you know, char cloth or charred punk wood, and I get it going a bit of a flame going, and then I just put the lid on, smother it, leave it till it goes out. I would not put that in the fire. As for putting in the fire to boil water in it, it's just not enough, is it? And the old-fashioned tins, the 2-ounce tobacco tins, they were no good for that either. So that's the tin. And one thing, I made a mistake earlier. The torch, the little night light, it has got a switch on it to keep it on. My bad, as they say, as the young people say. It has got a switch. I thought it was a little thing to open it up and put a new battery in, but no, it was a switch to keep it on, so my apologies. Right, now I may repeat myself from earlier, but I'm going to go over it again. First thing, purification tablets. Great, all well and good, but you need something to put them in, so it needs a water bag, preferably 2, because they're a bit delicate. Now, I know there's a company in the US here, Survival Resources, John McGann, and he sells small survival kit water bags, and I've got a few in the house, and they're pretty good, so I'd consider putting a pack of them in. Or, you know, you can find something, kitchenware bags, Ziplocs, the one that stand up, they're good. I don't think they hold a complete litre, and they're a bit bulky, but they do work well. The matches work just fine, especially if you use them in conjunction with a candle. They were okay. Personal opinion, I would put some large kitchen matches in, and a couple of either Yuko or British Army Lifeboat matches, but not the ones that are in the ration packs now. The red ones, they are terrible. The brown ones, they work well, so I would have put them in instead. The wire saw did work. It was okay, but I wouldn't bother cutting anything bigger than that because it would take you forever. But to use the saw to make a bucksaw frame, it would work just fine. Unfortunately, as I said before, there's nowhere near enough cordage in there. I would have probably put some survival cord in there, which has got tinder in it as well, waxed jute inside it, so you can gut it and use things for different purposes. I would put some of that in, and some bank line, nylon bank line. That's good strong stuff. I'd put that in too. This knife is a massive disappointment. This is a load of rubbish. If it had a plain blade and been sharp, then it would have been okay. But this thing is just a complete waste of time, and it's more danger to yourself than an actual tool. Whistle, pretty self-explanatory. Cable ties, 2 small ones. I've probably gone with a lot more, and a couple of large ones. Blades, wouldn't have bothered. Would have put a pack of 5 Stanley blades in instead. Instructions. Nah, if you're going to carry a survival kit, you should have done your homework before you went. Pitiful amount of cord. Fishing kit, could have done with a shed full more line and a lot more hooks, and as I said earlier, possibly a couple of lures. Thing is with fishing kits, if you're going to be anywhere near the sea, you're going to need a different fishing kit and a bigger fishing kit than that. That is only good for a river, to be honest with you. If you're going to do any river fishing, you'd probably be better off making a fish trap anyway. Safety pins, good, yeah, keep them in. Just put a few bigger ones in. The light, yes, as I said a minute ago, it has got a switch to keep it on. Sewing kit, too flimsy, not enough needles. Tube, flimsy, good for sucking out water from a crack or something. Not that I've ever needed to do that, I haven't. Wire, not enough, and no means to cut it. There is a little trick where you twist it and it breaks, but if you don't know that trick, well, it's no good to you, is that you need to know how to do that before you even contemplate playing with wire. Pencil, self-explanatory. You could always scrape a bit off it and make some tinder. Ferro rod, It's quite a soft ferro rod, but it does work. The striker is awful, so I think they need to put a better striker in, and possibly some, as I said earlier, some tinder card or some cotton wool, because that is difficult to get natural tinder going. And see, you can't make shavings with that knife. The scrapings weren't brilliant, but yeah, this isn't looking good, is it? No. If I was to make my own kit up, I'd do exactly what I just said. That would go, the saw would go, and I'd put a Victorinox knife in there. If you're strapped for room, I'd probably put a walker in. If you've got enough room, I'd probably put a Victorinox Farmer in, because it's got a good saw, good blade, and all your tin, your bottle opener, your usual things, and that's a damn good knife. I've lit many a fire with a ferro rod and my Farmer. Well, that's my review, my scathing review of the BCB Combat Survival Kit. It definitely needed some plasters, it definitely needed a better knife, and it definitely needed some water bags. Well, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate your views and your comments. A thumbs up is always appreciated. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Helps me and the channel out. I'm not begging for subs, because I know there's a bit of a thing at the moment. Channel's begging for subs. I'm not begging for subs. If you like what you see, please sub. I would appreciate it. Until the next time, ta-ra.